Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking with my man, Ged Robertson, former pro rugby player, and what we're going to talk about is like what he's doing with his athletes from a mindset point of view and how we can relate that to what we do with our clients to get them the best results possible. What we dive into is what we can do to improve our understanding of why they do the things that they do and how we can alter that so they have a better understanding of why they actually need to be doing the things that you're getting them to do. So if you're a coach and a trainer and you're wanting to grow and expand your knowledge in the fitness industry to get your clients better results, check this out now and let's dive in.
Okay, yeah, so I just got the whiteboard and went, okay, so I've got on one end who's shown high levels of characteristics about being really driven to be better in their sport, and then down the other end who needs some help. And then we just put their names down across the whiteboard and then just see, what do we see? Is there any trends? Where are we at on this line? And there was some interesting things from it. It was predominantly at the top end of the scale were people in individual sports who were at the older end of our bandwidth of athletes.
Like older age as well.
Older age of our bandwidth. So you're probably talking early 20s to 23, 4.
Yeah.
So, and then it was just a trickle down effect down that line. A lot more females towards the top.
Yeah.
But again,
it's self-seeded though, right? Like, is that how that kind of worked? Explain that.
Well, I don't know why the females were towards the top. That's why it was just interesting to write them down. And then we just kind of stood back and looked at the list and went, why are they up here? There's a massive element of the individual sports because there's no social loafing, right? So do you know what social loafing is? Like when you get in a group.
Yeah, well, explain that.
So, social loafing. So the example I give is if I said to you, clap as loud as you can, as hard as you can by yourself, you will.
Yeah.
And if I add someone else into that group to clap with you, without you knowing it, you'll go slightly a little bit less than you were if you're by yourself. And the more people you add, the more you drop down that line.
Yeah.
So with an individual sport, as you know, with your coast to coast, it's only them, right?
Yeah.
So they have to be self-driven. It's about them. They've had to learn all those characteristics about working hard, perseverance, deliberate training, how to be the best with not a lot of help. So they are very high driven to be their best in those individual sports. But then you take a sport like league where they're in a group, they may be the best on their field, but put them in a group and they just less and less because they've got other people in the group that can help pick them up in the areas that they're not so good at. So they're not as dialed in on their nutrition, their mental skills, their strength and conditioning. What does their daily practice look like? So it was very interesting when you plopped up, all the individuals and the slightly older ones are up there.
Is that like identifying that? Like, is that looking at, and we've talked about this in the past, where it's like, okay, we just use league as an example, and the reason that why they would want to perform and put in that effort with their nutrition, with their training is for the family, right? Like the self. It's like, is that the way that you would manage that? Because an individual sport is kind of doing it for themselves, right? Like,
there's a couple of things. Yes. So the short answer is yes. I need to sit down with the league, with those groups, leagueies, for example, and say, who are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Because it's obviously normally bigger than themselves, their ancestors, their whānau, where they've come from. But the other problem, as I found with them, is, when you asked me that question, like, did I ever think I was going to be an All Black? And I couldn't answer it. Like I paused for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they truly, and I don't know the reasons. I don't know if they truly believe that that's their goals to say NRL or to become a professional league player.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they truly see that that's an option for them.
Yeah. So, and this is where this was going in my head, right? Like, and again, I'm just putting this relevant to coaches and trainers who want to achieve things. So, in a conversation, if I'm talking to them over Messenger and they want to get to 10K a month, 100K a month, all this magical stuff, it doesn't take much to have a conversation with them to kind of feel the disbelief in whether they can do it. And one of the questions, I'll ask them is just like realistically, how close are you to being able to achieve that at the moment? And they'll say so miles away. I mean, it's just trying to create the reality of like what has to be done to actually make that a reality to kind of get an emotional attachment, whether that is possible or not, eh?
Mm,
Because
mm.
I asked you that, like, right that's looking back in reflection, not into the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
That question being asked when you're 20 would have given a different response, I would imagine. Like, I do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's actually, I think I would have already said I always dreamed to be an All Black,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
to
yeah,
truly say, so I think there's a couple of elements. I think there's an element of if they go all in and they
yeah,
don't make it,
yeah,
is that worse than not having a crack at all?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
there's
To
a
me,
real,
but I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I
Um,
don't know.
and so as we know, if we talked about the iceberg lots, the behavior at the top, but how they're thinking and feeling is affecting that.
Yeah,
But there's a whole lot of their thinking and feeling about, am I adequate enough?
yeah,
I need to earn money for the family now. Is that more important?
yeah,
Am I putting it on hold? But I've given them this opportunity. They've got the best providers there for nutrition and mental skills.
yeah,
And the other thing is, I don't know if they don't know the difference between what does it really take to train like that to be the best.
yeah.
So there's a disconnect, but to even get them in the room to have that conversation is hard enough.
Yeah, I seen a yeah, well that's one thing, but I seen an interview with Joe Rogan and they were talking about Tiger Woods and people want
Yeah.
to be like Tiger Woods. And then the question was like, do you want Tiger Woods' childhood, right? Like, do you want the
Yeah.
path that Tiger Woods had to do to get there? Michael Jordan is another one, like, do you want the sacrifice that he's had to do with his whole life to achieve what he's won? Everyone wants the rewards, no doubt. Like, it's that other part of the equation that what do you have to do and sacrifice to actually get there?
Yeah. And I think I was listening to a high performance podcast. I think it's called High Performance Podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they were talking, the Mamba mentality, so Kobe Bryant's mentality.
Yeah,
So it was a guy that works a lot with high performing athletes.
yeah,
And he said his obviously about most people that he sees, they're trying to be the best they can be.
yeah,
Where Kobe's mentality was, I want to be the best ever.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So he said, you don't, there's not, and then so everything he is doing is about being the best ever.
Yeah.
Most people are about being the best they can be.
yeah, yeah,
And he said that was the only difference between a few
yeah.
and a lot, which was interesting. I think I wrote down one of the quotes that
Tim Grover, is it?
it might be Tim Grover. There's two of them. They've done one on Johnny Wilkinson, which is really interesting as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was writing down some of what they were talking about, and I was like, this is just so, yeah. But what does high performing and high character look like? Oh, yeah, I can't remember now. I've lost it. But it was just really interesting hearing that, and then, but them even knowing what their best is, I don't think they understand what has been their best. What has been the best they can be look like.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, let's say you're a PT and you're earning $7,000 a month and you're the best in your environment. We've spoken about fitness with this.
Yeah.
At their level, they're the best. But if you went worldwide, where would they be sitting?
Yeah.
So my leagueies are the best in Canterbury. They've made the New Zealand under 20 side. So they're getting told they're really, really good. But if I went and put them in the best in the world or the best in the NRL, they wouldn't be anywhere.
Yeah.
But they just see that they're the best now.
Yeah,
So
and
what do I need to change?
there's two things on that, like that I remember. I mean, when I first started personal training, I was probably lucky, like Lee and I as well. You see, we're probably lucky that there was a trainer there who's probably the busiest trainer in like New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah.
Like he was just like so far above everybody else that was possible. You could just see it was right there, and he was open to share. And what I see now is like I go into like sign up on coaching groups, mastermind groups, and stuff like that. And I'm always like the bottom tier of those. And the question at the beginning is like, where's everybody at? Are we making our first million? Are we looking at our next million? And everyone's like, next million. And they're just like, how many people in your database? And they're like 100,000. It's just like so big that that just becomes normal. And I think that's the thing. Like if the environment that these kids are living in is surrounded by people who's what they're trying to achieve is so low, it's hard to truly see further than that.
I agree. So, and we've talked so much about environment. So you were lucky you had, and if you look at the Crusaders as an example, this hothouse that everyone talks about, there's always someone that is above them that is, so Richie McCaw was there.
Yeah.
You can't beat it, right? Everyone's trying to get to that best personal trainer or that best they've seen.
Yeah.
So what is he doing? What is his characteristics?
Yeah.
How do we follow that? And that just keeps ascending over and over. Then Kieran Reid, then Andy Ellis, then Wyatt Crockett, then
Yeah.
you've got Richie Mo'unga, and it's just this trail line of following the best and stepping into environment and elevating because you're in that environment of not being the best anymore.
Yeah. A quote that I heard is, we're not. I'll come back to you and I'll give you this quote, but it's something like we're not the lowest version of ourselves. We're the lowest standard we're willing to accept, or something.
Yeah.
So it's almost just like we become the lowest of the standards we're willing to accept. So the Crusaders' standards across the board are so high that the lowest standard is still exception away.
Yeah, it is. So then they step into this environment. Everyone's like, wow, they're a different player when they get here.
Yeah.
So they've stepped into an environment where the standards and values and how you train, and they've walked into a hothouse of how to do it your best.
Yeah.
So now they've elevated and everyone's gone, whoa, this player's so much better.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah. And I guess that's the standard you're trying to create, like with every environment. It's just like, well, with you specifically there, it's like, how do you have the lowest standard person that you're dealing with, like, there, eh?
Yeah. So, and that's what I'm challenging at the moment is, so how do I get them to see that there's a standard way above them that they can aspire to?
Yeah.
And what does that look for them? But the other thing in my sense is I'm only a support program. I'm not their sport.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is I'm another tier away.
Yeah.
So we talk lots in we talk about mentoring or coaching, so I'm not their person. I could end up their person, but they need that big person within their sport helping them to see that pathway and elevate.
Yeah.
So that's, if we look at the triangle, like we talk lots about coach or mentor the player and or parents or someone else in that triangle.
Yeah.
So they don't have that triangle at the moment, which is another issue part of. So one, they're elevated to their level of their environment, which they see as quite high, but I see as low.
Yeah.
They don't have that mentor or coach really there for them, because the key is, as a key for a mentor and coach is, especially in sport with teams, you have a coach that comes in and he's just worried about that campaign and about winning for that season. So yes, he is wanting you to be a better player, but he's doing that because he wants to elevate the team to be the best.
Yeah.
There needs to be a person in their corner that's looking at their long-term development.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you lose tomorrow in that game. I care about you as a person, as a player over 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm focusing on. So the wins or losses in that daily are minimized and magnified as your growth, long-term growth as a person, as a player.
Yeah.
And they don't have that. They have just a coach that comes in for 6 months and he's gone, or he's just, that season we won, happy days. See you next year. So it's, there's a whole lot to it, right? So it's just, it's navigating all that. The quote actually that came out, they were talking about Kobe, the guy, I think it might have been Tim Gray. He was talking about Kobe. He had one of his skills, he started up Kobe Bryant's skills. Yeah. And Kobe was there doing his skills, and he was doing this real basic foot drill over and over and over. Yeah. And like 12-year-olds do this drill. Yeah. And he went up to Kobe and said, Kobe, why are you doing this drill? And he said, the best never get bored doing the basics. Yeah. He said they never get bored doing the basics over and over again. Yeah. And then we obviously started talking about Steph Curry and making threes and and we talk about that consistency, that to make those shots that he was making in the playoffs. Yeah. He's probably done 25,000 times in training. Yeah. So that when that moment came, he could hit that one shot. Yeah. But we're in a world where everyone wants that $10,000 a month thing right now. Yeah. Don't realize there's a whole lot of deliberate practice and training that goes in to make those moments happen.
Yeah. Anyone that I've seen like accelerate when it's been through fitness or business or anything is just because they've started something and got real quick results because they've had a foundation that they've done heaps of stuff. It's never like they might sign up on a course and they went from like 0 to 10K, and I've had clients even do it. They've gone 0 to 10K in like 4 weeks, right? But it's almost just because they already knew how to get clients. There was so much already there. They knew how to convert clients, The skills didn't need to be learned. And then you'll get somebody who's like, man, I've been trying to do this here for a month. And I was like, yeah, but you don't even have the skills to communicate with people, sell to people, and you've got nothing really to offer them yet. So we have to go right back to upskilling you to have value.
Totally. And the thing is, as you know, is what's a month? Like, it's a prick. Like, how long have you been coaching and training for? 20, whatever it is, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
What's a month in that? Like, it's
and it's a pretty common
300
theme,
of it.
probably with these athletes and also with coaches and trainers, because they want like instant success. Where I'd say like, if you're new, just invest time and effort and money for the next 3 years to get good at it. Like, get good.
Yeah, I agree. And so, and I mean, it's, we've thrown out there different hours about when you become an expert at something, but it's somewhere between 4,000 and 20,000 hours.
Yeah.
And that's the craft.
Yeah, there's 10,000 hours of like good practice, not 10,000.
Deliberate, purposeful practice.
Yeah.
Not just sitting down reading a book and saying, oh, sweet, I've just done something for what am I taking from that? What lessons, what am I taking in?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating work because the potential's there. It's just how do we unlock it? How do we get them to see past their position right now that they're a good regional athlete?
Yeah. Well, here's a question, and this is probably the last question we can do. But if we think about that for like anybody, right? Like, how do you, like, in your opinion, and this is, we're just going to probably free flow this, but how do you see past that? How do you see open potential and see like what is achievable?
I think like when I first think of it right now is, and we talked about it before, is there has to be someone that's doing it better than you.
Yeah.
That's you can have in, or either see and use to aspire to be like. Yeah. And if you can, have them in your circle even better.
Yeah.
Because I think that just helps elevate. You see different ways and go, actually, this person's doing it. If they can do it, why can't it? Becomes real, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always easy to have those people in your environment, but there's enough media to follow them. And
I was going to say that, and rather than just look at like, what do they wear and how do they act, right? Like, it's actually, what do they do on a daily basis? What time do they get up? What do they do when they get up in the morning? Follow their routines, follow their rituals, follow the mundane, and like, that you're 100% right. I would have to agree. Like, that's what I would say. Just, and that's what I would do too. Like, I'd hire a coach or whatever, find out what they did to get to where I want to be, and then just do that until you can figure out something better. Do what they did,
Take their pieces, take their learnings that they've been able to elevate, use and go, oh, that works for me, and then do that over and over again.
I heard Sonny Williams say that, actually. He said, I can't even remember who it was, but he said like he had such longevity in the industry and stuff like that. So he said he just did what he did. He got up at whatever in the morning, did his stretching, did his mobility. So he said like that's what I wanted, a long career. So I just did exactly what he did. Like,
totally. So you look at Quade, like if you look at Quade Cooper, he's done the same, kind of reinvented himself off Sonny Bill.
That's a great example. Brad Thorne, actually. Sonny Bill just mimicked off what Brad Thorne did.
So Brad Thorne led the way with that. Sonny Bill took over it. Sonny Bill taught Quade taught James O'Connor, and now they're all on that pathway. Yeah. But they've learned, they've adapted, because early on they were great. They had great potential, and everyone was saying these guys, but then they lost their way, right? Yeah. They've gone, okay, well, what am I missing? Sonny Bill, they've got an environment where they've gone, Sonny Bill, look what he's doing. Look how he is as a person, how he's training. Yeah. And now they've got their 5 a.m. club up doing their mobility and stretching. Yeah. And now the young kids below them at the Wallabies are doing the same, and it's just this trail-on effect like we talk about, right?
Yeah. That, standing on the shoulders of giants, sort of.
Totally. And then everyone goes, oh, why are the Wallabies doing? And the funny thing is, if you go, why are the Wallabies doing so well about it? I would actually say you could probably trace it back to Brad Thorne and Sonny Bill.
Yeah, and that's a long path, sort of. Do you know what I mean? It's only not. It's not really, but it's like. It's worth that journey, Like, and then if they carry that on, it becomes quite unstoppable, Like the Crusaders.
Yeah, it is. And then it gets to a stage where, you've got enough doing it that everyone's like, oh, this is just, I'm stepping into this environment now. This is if I want to be in this environment, this is it. This is the standards, and I have to get up to. So I'll be up at 5 a.m. doing it with everyone else. Yeah.
All right, we'll leave that at that, mate. It's good, as always, to free flow, chat about these things. Hey guys, if you're a coach and a trainer and you want to stay in the industry for the long term, hit subscribe. We create videos like this every single week that helps coaches and trainers to grow their businesses moving forward.